Righty. So let's get the show on the road. So bienvenidos, welcome everyone. Happy 2026. Thank you all for joining us for our virtual Hacking Your Career Beyond the Resume. We're incredibly excited to have you all tune in today as we dive into what it means to go beyond the resume. So whether you're just entering the workforce or currently at a career crossroads or just want to stay informed of current career trends, or want to know how to stay competitive in what we all know is a very chaotic job market, this hacking a career is for you. I'm Antonio Caro. I'm your MC for this evening, executive producer and a content strategist over here at the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. And here at the foundation, we want to stay connected. So whether you joined our network as a youth awardee, attended one of our events such as the Hispanic Heritage Awards, one of our charlas, a coder summit, or are a fan of our award-winning Fritanga podcast, we want to be a source of information and a resource for everyone. At previous hacking career events, we noticed many questions from those in career transition and a career crossroads. So we heard you and organized this tailored hacking a career event to address a need in our community. So during today's session, we'll cover topics such as rewriting your resumes, narrative and upskilling your career. And by the end, we'll be sharing all the resources, all the slides that you see today, so you can carry this knowledge into your career pathways moving forward. Now, before we begin, we have a few housekeeping requests. We encourage the asking of questions. Please use the Q&A chat icon found at the bottom of the screen. Now, while the mentor will be presenting, they might not be able to answer your question right away, but we will allot a moment at the end for Q&A. But at the end of their presentation, I know they will also go in and engage with some of the questions. So please, please, please don't be shy. Ask away. Now, all of us here also thrive off energy. So please let us know where you're calling in from, where you're tuning in from. Send all those emojis, the hearts, the claps, the balloons. We love it all. So we want to be a very engaged, energetic evening and really maximize the resources that we're going to review today. So now, without further delay, let's kick off with our first speaker, Cheyenne Van Kooten Brown, who is not only a global human resource leader at Big Tech, but also an award-winning tech leader, speaker, and educator. She has 18 plus years of human resources experience at various companies, including MTV Networks, BET Networks, and many more. Cheyenne, we couldn't think of a better person to lead this first workshop, so please take it away.
Thank you so much, Antonio. Thank you. I was just setting my timer, so I like to be prompt. I'm so excited to be here with everyone and talk about this topic, especially given we're just kicking off the new year. So this is the perfect time. So get your notepad, get your phones ready, and just feel free to capture this info. And like Teresa and Antonio said, they will be sharing the slides at the end. So I have a lot to cover in 20 minutes. Usually I do an hour or more, but we will make it happen. So I want to share with you kind of agenda of what we'll be covering in our 20 minutes together, and then you'll have an amazing next speaker. I want to ground this in the fact of what is the new career reality in 2026. I'm going to give you some really helpful top resume tips in my 18 plus years of experience in human resources, how to rewrite your resume for career growth or transition, right? Beyond the resume. It's not just about our resume, but it's also about our personal brand. Who are we? How do people see us? What is that elevator pitch? And then I'm very big on take action, right? Like you attend this amazing session today. What are you going to do after this session? At the bottom right, I put some soft skills to get hired in 2026. This is just regardless of what industry you are in, what type of jobs you may be looking for. These are skills that are going to be critical, especially in this AI-driven world, that AI can't do for us, right? Is the actually interpersonal communication, problem solving, adaptability, and even collaboration, regardless of the industry you're in. So if we go into the next slide, thank you. So I found this. I was cruising on Instagram, and I found this image here that I thought really did encompass kind of where we are, right? And so they had the word young people, but I actually took that out because I think it's essentially a lot of people, right? A lot of people are using AI to write job applications. HR are using AI to read them, and no one's getting hired. And so it's funny, but not, because we do know that the market is really tough right now. And I want to ground us in that, right? Like the way that you may have written a resume in the past is not the way that you can write a resume today and in the future. So I want to make sure that you all are ready and can have resumes and brands that are going to help you get to where you want to get to in that next level. And so I got to ground this in this. Whether you love or hate AI, some people love it, some people love all the tools, others are scared of it. The fact is it's not going anywhere. And so all you can do is best educate yourself and understand that in this market, the majority of organizations, not just corporate, the majority of organizations are using AI to screen. They are using these different tools. And it is very important to understand how to essentially beat that, right? Like you need to build a resume that shows your future relevance and experience, not just what you did in the past. And so want to make sure that we call that piece out. Next slide. Thank you. So there's a lot here. Obviously, I'm not going to cover everything here, but I want to call out a couple of key points around some general resume tips and how you can incorporate transferable skills or experience in your resume. But I first want to go to the left and talk about some general tips. Right now, when you think about the way we used to write resumes, even the way I learned to write a resume many years ago, was that you write your job title, and then you go and you list what you did, right? So I used to managed, these processes, manage this program. So it was so focused on literally job duties from the job description. You could get away with that. Today, not at all, right? Like employers want to see what was the impact? What did you achieve? What were like they want to see data, they want to see impact, they want to see collaboration. So it's really shifting the way those traditional job duties were listed to this new approach. I can't say this enough, having looked at a lot of resumes and worked with different applicant tracking systems, also known as ATS. So anytime you apply for a job in a system, whatever system it is, it's going into an ATS. And so it is tracking all those different resumes, it's processing. And what I've seen, and you'll see an example of this shortly, is that a lot of resumes, and I've seen some people spend three, four, $500 for someone to do a resume for them, but it's not passing the actual ATS. It's getting screened out. And there are actually AI tools that can help you to make sure that you're not getting screened out before you even get to the recruiter. And I'm seeing that happen a lot. Really important, two last three key points on here is authentic language. And I've seen this a lot as someone who has interviewed a lot of people and seen a lot of resumes. Don't, if you do use any type of AI tools, or even if you're using research and doing things online, don't just copy and paste. We know, and sometimes we won't even, again, you're either going to automatically get filtered out, even if you get past that process and get to a recruiter or hiring manager. If it feels like it's not authentic and you just did a copy paste, then we're just going to pass you. We want someone who's actually going to use critical thinking skills and actually are interested in really applying for this job by doing the work. This is important, and I say this, there's a caveat here is about the entry level. If you're entry level, let's say 1 to 3 years of experience, your resume should not be any longer than one page. Typically, I use the caveat that this can depend on your industry, academia, do your research on best practices for that industry that you're in. But it should not be that you have five. I've seen a 10-page resume, right, for someone who had like 3 years of experience, 5 years of experience. Even if you have 10 plus years of experience, you shouldn't have a 10-page resume, 5-page resume, 3-page resume, even. Get it down to 2 pages because most people are not going to look past the second page right at that point. So, and then this is another key piece that I talked about. Complete and submit your own job applications and resumes. I've been reading and hearing that this is actually a new thing now that there are some people that are getting other people to do a job application for them or to do the resume for them. And so you don't want to do that because the issue is that if you're using other people to do these things for you, by the time, let's say you do get to the interview process, like, and there might be a disconnect, right? And the hiring managers, HR, like we're not dumb, right? We can tell when someone is like, doesn't even know the documents that they're using. So we just encourage you to do that, to make sure that you're doing your own work, of course, get feedback from others from an incorporating transferable skills and experience. So this is where it's like you're trying to do a career pivot. You were in one type of field or industry. Now you want to shift into something else, but you may not have that direct experience. It's totally fine. You can do it and make it happen, but you just got to make sure that you can pull in and frame different volunteer roles, projects, look at the different types of jobs. Like I talked about, some general skills that are relevant regardless of the role or industry: communication, teamwork, collaboration, project management, program management. So you want to make sure leadership, right? You want to make sure that you're able to pull in those skills. And again, we'll talk more about that now, but we'll keep going. Watch on my timer. Okay. So addressing resume gaps. This is a big one. I get this question a lot, and I've even had to address my own situation when I had a resume gap for myself, is that you want to actually label the gap, right? So I'll give a real example. In 2017, my grandmother had passed away. I also then got laid off from a job. And so after that, I took a break, right? It was a tough time. I decided to take a break and start my own LLC. I started my own consulting business. I moved to Madrid and started teaching English there. Like I had this whole, moment. And then when I decided to come back, I was like, oh, well, now I have a gap of like 6 months. Like, what do I, what do I do here? And so I had to go in and literally list and say, listen, laid off, from employer, went to obtain a TEFL certification, blah, blah, blah. So like you want to actually address the gaps, career transition, right? If there was a health issue, if you were caretaker, like these, we're humans, right? Like things happen. And so you want to make sure that you highlight that. I also do want to caveat that if you have short-term or unfavorable jobs, don't add them on your resume, right? And what I mean is, let's say you went to a job and you were there 2 months and you left, right? Or you were there 6 months and or you were fired. Something happened. I would not put that on your resume, because I just want to remind all of us, when you anything, once you submit a job application and you also submit any job you list on your resume, if you do get that offer and they do a background check, they will validate every single job title you listed, your dates of employment, which are very important, and the reasons for leaving. Now, an employer can't say like they were terrible or they violated a policy, but they can say whether you were involuntary termination or not. And so yeah, so you just want to be mindful, case by case basis. I'm not saying all of the time, but you just want to be mindful of that. And again, using dates and structures strategically. So for example, there was a job where I was an L&D specialist. I was there for 10 months. I didn't necessarily, I went to a better opportunity. But the way that I used to list that on my resume was I used to say 2015. So at the time, thank you. Thank you, Jessica. At the time, I used to have my resume with years. So I didn't have month to month, right? Because it would have said January to October, so 2015. So no, but so I just had it and said 2015, which was true, right? So you just want to, again, just structure it in a way that's gonna help you tell a narrative. If next slide. Okay, so now we get into the meat of that. So Lourdes, I would say if you have a gap, it depends why, right? So if it was, taking care of family, traveling, like I would put a blurb in, and again, you can use some AI tools. Yes, and that's totally fine. I would add it because if we see the gap, then it's like what's going on? Get ahead of it, right? Add a paragraph there and skills that you did. If you were like, what were you doing? Were you managing budgets? Were you, right, like caretaking? Were you being reliable? Were like all these things matter, right? They're skills, transferable skills. So, three future ready resume framework steps. This I love. I did a lot of deep diving on this one. So, intentional direction, transferable impact, and strategic translation. If we go to the next slide. Please, thank you. And like I said, there's a lot of content. You'll get the slides, so I can't go into everything now. I got 10 minutes, but I want to ground this in being intentional. So I've had some people say, I need a job, I'm going to apply for everything. Don't do that, right? With two reasons. One, every time you apply for a job, it stays in the system on the back end. And I've seen this, right? Like when I used to work at a big company, I saw that some people would apply for like 10 different jobs, totally unrelated. Like it was, so we see it on the back end, it'll flag, right? Like this person's just looking for a job. They're not even trying to align to their qualifications. So take a step back and think about, well, what is the job that you want to do? Go on Indeed, go on LinkedIn, look at examples, idealist, right? If it's like nonprofit, look at examples or higher ed if it's like academia. Look at examples of job titles, type them in, look at the duties, look at the qualifications. Do you meet some of those qualifications? It doesn't have to be every single one. Um, and then decide again what industry, right? Like a human resources manager is in a financial services organization is not the same as a human resources manager in a nonprofit. It's very different. So you also want to think about what type of industry and organization either do you want to pivot in or do you want to stay in, right? Again, this income as well matters, right? The salary can look very different from, different industries. And then think again, an important part there is also thinking about how that position takes you and prepares you for the next position, right? My mentor is amazing. I used to work for him 10 plus years ago, and I never forgot when he told me that. How does the position you're looking at now help you position yourself for the next position? So you want to think about 2 steps ahead. So we talked about again, when you're looking to rewrite your resume, you're not just listing out all of the duties that you did, that long laundry list. You're not going to do that. You're going to pick 4 to 5 really key, super impactful achievements that you've done, impact that you had, and think about how this is actually going to be beneficial to employers. Because remember, these employers and these ATS systems are also looking at not just again, not just what you did, but like what's your potential? Like what can are you going to be ready for what the organization may need in 5 years? So they're looking at these things. This resume template on the right, and sorry if you happen to have one of these, don't use these. I mean, they look good. I think it's from a design perspective, cool. They don't get past the ATS. I had a friend who paid $500 for a resume that kind of looked like this. It won't get past the ATS, the systems. It can't read it. And so it just won't even get read, or it's just going to be wonky. You won't get past that first screening thing to even get to a recruiter. So again, I'll show on the next slide, I'll show you that, but actually go to the next slide. Let's just dive in and go there. Thank you. So with the transferable impact, it's okay. We're all learning together, William. It's all good. I thought it was fun too. I have about like so many different templates, and I even have one that looks like that. So it's all good. But this one to the right, actually from Resi, which is an AI tool that actually helps. Yes, it will be shared. The recording will be shared, Ricky. This is actually the way a resume should look. You all should have something that looks similar to this. And it's not as splashy as the one before, but think going back to remember, your resume has to be ready for humans and for machines and AI technology. It has to be able to be read. And so this will be able to be read. And you can see there's a nice summary at the top. There's a professional experience, and again, you can go in and add projects, community, involvement, professional associations, what have you. So it has to be nice and clean, none of the fancy stuff. When you think about the transferable impact and your signature strengths, this is really important. How do you identify? It's okay, it happens, Marcy, it's all good. Is we identify what are the desired core skills for the roles that you're looking at, right? Like, are they looking for critical thinking? Are they looking for ability to navigate ambiguity? I could tell you, having worked across many different industries, and having a lot of friends in HR, almost everyone is looking for people who can think critically, regardless of the role, who can communicate well, right? And also who can be able to navigate ambiguity because things are constantly changing, right? Like, I mean, we just have to be able to kind of roll with the punches, as they say, and even in any job that you're in. So you want to be able to demonstrate that. Continuous learning. I can't say this enough. I'm a learner for life. I got that from my grandmother, and I believe this to be true. And especially, like I said, in this AI and future of work and kind of where we're going, this is key. Employers are looking for this. Are you going to be willing to learn new systems, new technologies, new AI tools as they're integrating this into organizations? Are you willing to learn new processes and systems on how to be done? Um, Yep. Yeah, that's a good example. But yeah, so you want to make sure. So again, you can take what workshops. Like I take AI basics. I've taken all types of like courses, coaching thing, this and that. Like there's so many different resources that you have that you can go in to actually learn and just show on your resume that you're continuously learning. So going back to the evidence, so you want to go back to the jobs that you have. Go back and look at those actual job duties. Think about the examples of like what were some achievements that you had. Again, you can use AI tools to help you. No, it doesn't have to be a summary. I actually think they help to have a professional summary because it lets people know. It gives a snapshot of kind of where you were, what you're looking for, what your skills are. I actually like to have them, and you can use AI tools or like ChatGPT to like refine it for you. But I'm a fan of them. Not every single time, but it does help. I know for me, as someone who's looked at many resumes over the years, I always like to actually help to give me a snapshot, right, of who the person is without me having to read every single thing. Um, so, so I answer that in a second. So, and then rewrite your achievements using the STAR: situation, task, action, result. We could go to the next slide. Really here, I think I got this one. So I'm going to jump through this one. So the three strategic translation, right? So this goes back to future ready language. Like I said, there is these applicant tracking systems that are screening individuals out before they even get to a recruiter. Or some recruiters sometimes will even go on LinkedIn and search, right? They use different search strings to actually, or different associations through different schools, locations, employers, and they start looking at candidates and profiles themselves. That for a fact. I know I've done it myself. Like this happens a lot. So what type of keywords when they're, do you have on your resume, on your LinkedIn, that are going to pop up for them when they're looking, right? So again, this I like the example at the bottom where it says maybe in the past you may have said help maintain internal tools and systems, but you want to use future ready language, right? So now it's enable adoption of modern tools to improve usability, performance, team effectiveness, and you would add more to that, right? To result in blah blah blah. So again, and again, you have so many AI tools that you can use to actually help you fine tune that. But again, keep it authentic. Don't just have it be a copy and paste. But yeah, definitely make sure that you're go back and customize your resume for each opportunity. Don't just have it be a blanket resume for every single job. Like I know it's exhausting, it's time consuming to do it, but um, yeah, exactly. Yep, we look at LinkedIn. That's like a go-to. Next slide. Let me see. And I know I'm talking a lot, but at the end, I am talking fast rather. But I have a QR code. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. As you probably can tell, I love this stuff. So I'm happy to chat offline. But beyond the resume, your professional brand. So again, your resume is just one expression of your brand and who you are. It's the interviews, it's your LinkedIn profile, your social media accounts, right? Like your engagement at different events, conferences. That tells the world who you are, right? And that doesn't go anywhere. So it's really important. I encourage everybody. I even do it myself. I Google myself to see what comes up. I go and I look at my social media accounts. Mine are private, private and locked. And networking is key. This is the most important, especially, and I just told a colleague this, especially right now where the job market is tough. I was just telling Antonio this before we joined. It is what it is. There are a lot more candidates for the jobs. However, it just means more preparation, right? It is just means more preparation that we all need to do. And so reconnect and build your network before you need it. I can't say this enough, right? Like now, there's no reason why now you can't, you have your, go through your LinkedIn contacts, go through old employer, old colleagues that you may be connected with, reach out to them. Hey, it's the start, it's the perfect time. It's the start of the new year. The new year just started, right? Like, let's, would love to catch up for 15 minutes. How you doing? Like, you may not need anything for them. Just catch up. It's okay to like, hey, what have you been up to? Here's what I've been up to, looking forward to keeping in touch. Start doing that now, right? Because you don't want it to be where a situation, God forbid, 6 months, a year from now, or you decide that you're looking for a new opportunity, and now you haven't talked to someone in 10 years, depending on the relationship. Some people we can do that with, others we may not have talked to them in 10 years. They may not even remember who we are. But informational interviews, Adam, are great. And again, I'll respond more in that. I did a lot of those. So you can ask somebody for 15 minutes of their time, just to learn more about their role, the field, what have you. And then there's update your 30 to 60-second elevator pitch, right? So this is really important. I pulled this from MIT career services site. I like this little template, this little format that they have. Sometimes you get 30 to 60 seconds when you'll meet somebody, and you can share with them, hey, I'm super excited, would love to learn more. One quick piece here, and I got about a minute, is volunteer. I did so much. This is why my network is as big as it is like now. I did so much volunteering, like early career, even now, right? Like I volunteer because I'm passionate about it, but I did so much volunteering and it helped open so many doors. And Tony, if you go to the next slide, and I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you. So what's next, right? So taking action, turn insights into career momentum, find an ATS ready resume template, Align your resume and your LinkedIn narrative as well, right? Make sure you update your LinkedIn. And then again, encourage everybody, go pick 1 to 2 skills that your target roles are increasingly requiring. And make sure that you're joining groups on LinkedIn. Just get super active and have my QR code is in the upper right. You feel free to scan that. I'm happy to connect with you. And on the last slide, Antonio, there's a bunch of resources that he's going to share with you all. So don't worry about pulling them now. And then make sure you double check all the content you receive from any AI tools because they do make mistakes. I was so excited to share. Thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you. That was fantastic. I know we had a very lively discussion right in the chat. So we marked down some of the questions that weren't answered. We'll loop back to them. Cheyenne, thank you for the words of wisdom and the advice. A few things that stood out to me. I was taking a few notes, but high level for the resume, outcome driven. I love that outcome driven results narrative forward. So really capitalizing on authenticity, keyword and structure aware, and then also using AI as a tool, not as a crutch. So bringing back to like the maximization of authenticity, and then finally, really leveraging that network. So we're only as strong as the network we can lean on and the effort that we pour into it. So Cheyenne, thank you very, very much. Now, moving right along, let's dive into making that transition a reality. What are the resources out there for those looking to upskill their careers in either learning a new skill set or getting a more formal education? Our next workshop is Upskill Your Career Workshop, and we'll explore how to upgrade your skills when preparing for your next career move and the key essentials when considering in-demand skills in order to position yourself for a future-proof career. So to learn more, let's welcome our next speaker, mi hermano Jeffrey Vique. He's a senior customer success manager at ServiceNow with over a decade of experience driving client success, strategic planning, and cross-functional collaboration across global organizations. Passionate about community impact and inclusive leadership, Jeffrey combines data-driven insights with people-focused strategies to deliver measurable results and foster belonging. So, Jeffrey, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to hearing your advice on certifications, boot camps, and other programs that support individuals to navigate their next steps. And just for the chat, also, please make sure to connect with folks on LinkedIn, our mentors. I know Jeffrey, about the certification he's talking today. You can see the incredible list of certifications and work that he's really put into building himself up. So I will pass the mic along to Jeffrey now.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Antonio. And thank you very much, Hispanic Heritage Foundation, for giving myself and the rest of the panelists an opportunity to share a little bit of insight today into careers, right? Especially now during these interesting times, I should call it. So a little bit about me, who I am, and why the hell am I here, right? So a little bit about me. So I'm Jeffrey Vique. I'm a first-gen Colombian American. My parents came here in the 80s, born and raised in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area. So a first-gen undergrad and first-gen graduate school as well. So a little bit about me there educationally, personally. I'm also a girl dad. So I have two girls, an 8 and 3-year-old that are running around, little hectic life here that I've made for myself. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And then another thing here, professionally speaking, I'm with ServiceNow, so I'm a senior customer success manager. And just like Antonio had mentioned, I work with customers in ensuring that they utilize our platform effectively, but also strategically. And then on top of that, and you can also visit my LinkedIn and take a look at my other endeavors. I'm also a part of a couple nonprofits in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia as a board member, ranging from economic development to even the culture and arts. So a little bit about me, and I think the reason for that is ever since I was little, I was called the Metiche, and I think that's followed me through up until my adulthood. And one of the things about that, and I'll share about it so you understand why I'm here. There's no essential roadmap for tech careers in my particular experience, right? I didn't grow up aspiring to be in tech, and what I focused on is learning how to translate those skills, like Cheyenne had mentioned, to tell my story and narrative to be able to break into the tech industry. And that goes for any industry for that matter as well. So a little bit about my journey as well. So what's interesting is my undergrad was in criminology with the hopes of becoming a lawyer. Um, Life happened, right? As a first gen, I had to financially support my parents. Jumped into the workforce, started working for the transportation and logistics industry, then the aviation industry, and now the tech industry. And so essentially the reason why I pinpoint that is there is no straight line to get into the career that you're focused on. It's different for everyone. There's a lot of different paths that you can take, right? I didn't have a computer science degree or an engineering degree, right? I didn't, have a single aptitude for coding, right? For writing code, enhancing code, right? Vibe coding, as the term is being used today, right? But I still made it into the tech industry, right? That's the main key point that I want to drive there. Quick thing, I want to make it interactive as I go through some of my talking points in the chat. The first thing I want to ask the audience, right, and throw it in the chat. What careers did you not see growing up that you're now curious about? So I'm trying to make it as interactive as possible. I want to make sure that everybody's lively and well in the chat. So go ahead and put that in the chat. What careers did you not see growing up that you're now curious about? Cybersecurity, UX design, amazing. UX design, data analyst, professional coach and writer. Amazing. Okay, this is a good segue, right, into my next topic, right? So some of us that are transitioning into, let's say, for example, the tech industry, may not necessarily have the title, right, or the skills yet, right? One of the things, and I'll translate this over back to my first gen experience, which I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, can relate to it at one point or another. Growing up, I was the accountant of the family, being the firstborn, first generation. I was the accountant of the family. I was the medical scribe, translator, makeshift lawyer, right? Especially when it came to traffic tickets, right? And all the above, right? A jack of all trades, or I should say, a Juan of all trades, a master of none, right? Um, it's all about telling the story and how you can take those transferable skills that Cheyenne talked about, and use them to tell your story better, right? So hiring is about problem solving and learning the velocity piece, right? And so with those transferable skills like communication, stakeholder management, problem solving, and change management, everything that you can do, you can translate over, right, into breaking into that industry, or any industry for that matter. And one of the things that you also have to think about is what are some ways to be able to obtain some of these skills unofficially, right? So a perfect example, right? In my career journey, I'd love to make it into a position of leadership, right? Or a position of organizational and strategic kind of focused area. So the best way to do that for me is getting my hands wet with being able to do so. So how did I go about navigating in ways to be able to do that? Well, I joined nonprofits to be able to flex some of these muscles that I learned throughout my professional journey, right? In that sense. So those are different ways that you can utilize some of these skills that you can put to the test in ways of also giving back. So another question I have for the chat, I'd love to know, is what roles have you ruled yourself out too early for? An example of that I would probably give myself is growing up. I had no inclination or insight that I was going to be in the tech industry. I always thought that it was going to be one-sided in coding and an opportunity to build something, right? Robotics or what have you, engineering, which I didn't have any inclination, right? So one of the things that you have to tell yourself is it will, first off, not rule yourself out, and then find ways and paths to get to your end destination. Not one path is the exact same. So, and I think one title or one phrase that I like to revert back to in that sense is careers are built, they're not necessarily selected. So remember that piece. All right. So another way to build up the confidence to be able to break into the industry, whether you're early in career or transitioning into the tech industry, and I'm using the tech industry as an example, right? Is different certifications that are out there that help you build that particular confidence. And so there are skills challenges that are out there. Google career certifications, IBM skills build, HubSpot Academy, AWS skills builder, all these major what we call mang companies, Meta, Amazon, they all have certification courses that you can take, and most of them are actually free, right? Um, and the certifications give you a language to be able to understand, right? And a good foundation. I'll give you an example of where I'm at now at ServiceNow. We have a program called Rise Up, and this program is designed to help folks transitioning out of the military or transitioning into the tech industry as a whole from becoming a teacher, who were previously teachers or previously, police officers, or homemakers, to come in, learn the skills, learn the platform, learn the language, learn the nuances of being in the tech industry, and then finding ways to either break into ServiceNow that way or our customers or partners, right, as well. So that's a piece that I would recommend doing. I know a lot of other tech companies offer that, depending on what interests you, right? So if you're interested in data analytics, right, as an example, Google Cert has a program called Grow. I think it's called Google Grow, or Grow with Me, something like that, along the lines. And essentially, those will help you get an understanding of data analytics, right? There's different paths that they have. They also have cybersecurity, project management, and IT support. So if you were highly interested in going into IT support or data analytics, some of these tech companies will have the opportunity for you to dive in and learn from them directly, free of charge, right? So those are kind of some examples there. And the one thing that I also want to recommend, right? Um, well, I guess I'll go back to the chat here. What's one skill you could commit to learning in the next 30 days? And this is an actionable item, taking a page from Cheyenne. Um, Write it down in the chat and remember it so that you can focus on that next actionable item for the next month. LLMs, yes. Learning agile project management. CSS Splunk, yes, absolutely. Project management, yes, it is a transferable skill. AI, amazing. Okay, perfect. Thank you for contributing into the chat. So one of the key things that also, as was talked about Cheyenne earlier and what I mentioned earlier about the transferable skills, tech is bigger than just coding. Tech is bigger than just engineering, right? Bigger than sitting behind the desk and creating an app from the back end, right? There's different opportunities to break into tech through customer success, like myself, right? Through product, through operations, through data, through program management. All of these pieces that I just stated all have a separate faction of these opportunities within these tech organizations. So customer success as an example, because I'm a customer success manager, I can give you transferable skills that I used in my previous career. I've always been customer facing, always had interactions with customers face to face, online, email, phone, what have you. And so I was able to use those skills and say, I understand pain points that customers go through, and it's universal, right? The customer wants to be heard, right? The customer wants to have support in different ways, right? They want to have an ear to be able to soundbite off of, right? To be able to adapt and strategically complete something that they're trying to do, right? Whether that's in transportation and logistics, in aviation, and now in tech, right? So those are different avenues, right? Tech industries also have good use of finance, right? So if you were an accountant, right, that wants to break into the tech industry, that wants to understand AI and LLMs and all that, all tech organizations have a finance component. If you're in marketing and want to transition into tech, all tech organizations have marketing components as well, right? So those are things that you can also think about. And there's also communities out there, right, that help you understand what these skill levels and transferable skills that others have used to break into the industry, right? Communities like, for example, Alpha, communities like Latinx MBA, right, on the ops and strategy side, communities like Tequeria. If you haven't heard of Tequeria, I'm actually on the board there as well. They're a Latino organization nationally, have 20 to 25,000 members plus on an online community that helps one another break into the tech industry, right? So organizations like that, right? I think it's a good representation of what's possible, especially if you've never realized or thought about being in a position in the tech industry before, right? All right. So curious in the chat, I mentioned, some of these tech industry organizations, or I would say pieces like customer success, product ops, data, program management. Would love to know in the chat what tech adjacent roles sound interesting but are unfamiliar. Yes, Gabriella, that's a good point. Photography. Believe it or not, photography is a very common role within the tech industry. At ServiceNow, we have a marketing team. We also have a team that focuses on videography and photography to run campaigns for us, right? And the cool thing about it is that a lot of these tech companies have indispensable amount of money to be able to run campaigns with celebrities and so forth. So an example of that is one of our campaign representative or ambassadors for ServiceNow is Idris Silva. So our marketing team, who I know someone from that side, was able to actually meet Idris Elba and do a shoot and everything like that, which is really cool. So yeah, there is opportunities like that. So I see, Adam, you mentioned several certification programs to break into tech companies that are free, and an organization that can help you break into industries like Latinx, like Rise Up. Is there a list? Yeah, actually, I'm going to go through a little bit of this list as well. And I see sales strategy, digital marketing as skills that sound interesting, or roles that sound interesting but are unfamiliar. So how do we familiarize ourselves with those particular roles, right? So I mentioned earlier the different certifications that might be able to open the door for you, right, into the industry. So in tech, there's not one single path. The skills are in some cases are gonna take over the pedigree that you have, right, to be able to crack into the tech industry, right? So the certifications don't necessarily replace experience, but they do accelerate access. So remember that. You could use the certifications to build up the confidence, to build up the language, and to build up the credibility. And always focus on the certs that align to your roles and not just the hype, right? For example, you hear about AI all the time, right? And you're thinking, well, how do I, crack into AI and in that particular space if I don't have the skills? Don't just take any particular AI course that's out there. It's good to understand the foundational pieces of it, but be targeted in your approach, be strategic in your approach to understand, well, why am I so honed in on AI, right? Maybe you come from a finance background. Is there a course or certifications that might be able to trigger or guide me to a path more geared towards finance within AI, right? To make it more niche. So think about certifications and programs and boot camps that lead you towards a path that you're the most interested in. So think about those pieces. So some highlighted certifications, and we'll share this at the end here as well. So I mentioned Google career certifications that are out there, right? Apologize. Coursera, right? They're all delivered through Coursera. If you're not familiar with Coursera, it's an online learning platform. A lot of universities are actually putting content in there to be able to distribute to not only students at the school, but also to the masses, right? So Google career certificates are a way to hone in on that piece, right? They have IT support, data analytics, and project management. Some of these courses you have to pay for, right? Especially with Google Career. But there's programs, right? Like there's different nonprofit organizations, right? Blacks in Tech, Latinos in Tech, Latinas in Tech, right? Somos Tech. These organizations that partner up with Google and are able to distribute free vouchers to have underrepresented groups like the Latino community crack into the industry by taking these certs free of charge, right? So those are some ways that you can think about. IBM Skills Build is another one that's really great. So I actually took an AI foundational course through them. It was about 6 hours long. I spread it across a week. Spent an hour and a half every night just diving into it. And they go through the basics of AI. What's an LLM, right? What's data, and how is data represented? How is it cleaned up, right? In that sense, right? What's generative AI versus predictive, in that sense. So this is a good foundational piece. And IBM Skills Build is completely free. You just sign up for an account and you go in and earn your certificate. And like Cheyenne mentioned, you can start adding those not only to your resume, right? Depending on the position that you're looking for, but also on your LinkedIn, right? Go into my LinkedIn if you have an opportunity and see all the certs that I have. I think it has a lot to do with me being Metiche, which factors into that. AWS Skills Builder, that's another good one. This one's a good one because I actually just took their AI fundamentals course as well. The cool thing about it is they have an opportunity to be able to crack into and utilize the LLMs that they offer and create an AI agent free of charge, right? So you can go in and practice, right? Skills that you learn and grow on, right? Another one is Microsoft Learn. So you can learn if you're interested in cloud, right? You can learn Azure. You can learn Power BI if you're into data analytics, right? HubSpot Academy, they're a good CRM tool. Salesforce is another one, Salesforce Trailhead, and most importantly, ServiceNow. So our ServiceNow through ServiceNow University offers free on-demand courses. So if you want to know more about the platform, just go into servicenow.university.com, create an account, and you can log in and start taking on-demand courses to understand the platform that we offer. Which, by the way, is in 80% of the Fortune 500 companies use ServiceNow. So just throwing a plug in there, right? And so those are some highlighted certifications, right? And I know I'm almost at time, but then there's also free and low cost boot camps and programs that are out there, right? Per Scholas, they offer IT, cloud, and cybersecurity courses for free, right? Year Up is another one. Tech and business pathways for early in career folks, right? Power to Fly is another opportunity to tap into, right? Power to Fly is an organization, a nonprofit that helps with upskilling and access to tech roles, right? LinkedIn Learning, if you're on LinkedIn, there's an opportunity there to dive into that. Another one and one that I'm actually taking advantage of myself is Montgomery College in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area has a program completely free of charge that you can take with them to focus on cybersecurity route, data analytics, or IT support. So any one of those tracks that you're interested in, you can sign up, and they have different cohorts in the spring and the fall to be able to take advantage of it. And it's completely free of charge, and it's for you to really dive into and be hands-on with data analytics, cybersecurity, what have you, right? And then at the end of it, they give you a voucher to be able to take and certify for a CompTIA certification. And that's a governing body for cybersecurity, but also for data analytics and that sort of thing. So those are kind of some of the things that I would think about. And we'll share these resources with you. And I know for some of you outside of the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, I know for a fact that there are community colleges or four-year colleges that offer programs like that to underrepresented communities that are trying to break into a particular industry. So think about that as well. I hope that you found this useful. I wanted to thank Hispanic Heritage Month Foundation and Antonio, Teresa, and the team for allowing me to be able to enlighten you with some facts.
Jeffrey, thank you. Thank you. That was phenomenal. From one metiche to another. Appreciate your leadership and guidance in nuestra comunidad, hermano. Few takeaways, high level. Reinvention. I think reinvention and life demands constant reinvention, and it's a very radical kind of belief to underscore. And the tools are really at our fingertips. I would be remiss not to shout out. I know some of those resources that you mentioned. One of them was IBM Skill Build. We have a wonderful partnership with IBM where we engage our adult learners, young professionals to really upskill and put folks on the fast track to achieve a more powerful and successful future. So IBM Skill Build is a wonderful platform. I know we have other tools like the Achievery. I know myself, I've taken certifications through General Assembly. The list goes on. So we cannot wait to share those tools. And then, as Jeffrey said, also continue leveraging your networks, your associations. They have everything, even for associations for fundraisers to Tequeria, so on and so forth. So thank you, Jeffrey, very much for your guidance. Now, continuing our learning and upskilling path, we want to go down the more formal education route. So now we'll be hearing from the Dr. Selvin Malcolm Waldron, who is the Senior Vice President and Executive Director at City Year DC and Professor of Public Policy at the University of Maryland. Dr. Waldron is a recognized education leader, policy scholar, and advocate for youth development, college access, and economic mobility. He has years of experience in education, including increasing student enrollment, expanding access to professional skills training, work-based learning, college and career coaching, and mentorship for high school seniors across the DC region. Dr. Waldron's career spans more than a decade of leadership in workforce development and college preparation in the DC area, and his fundraising efforts have generated more than $40 million to support education and economic development programs for marginalized communities. So he is clearly an expert in all things education and workforce development. I always say that anything education related here in the DMV area, you could always count on Dr. Waldron being there and being a voice of leadership in those spaces. So Dr. Waldron, thank you for making spaces for all of us. And the floor is yours.
Antonio, I appreciate that introduction. Thank you so much. Let's shout out as well Cheyenne and Jeffrey. That was amazing. I took a lot of notes, even after being in this industry for so long. That was excellent. Thank you to the entire Hispanic Heritage Foundation team for the invitation today. I'm always excited to speak to people about their next higher ed dream. So a little bit about me before I jump into a couple of slides here. As was mentioned, I lead a nonprofit here in the city. I've led a couple of nonprofits in the city before this as well. Nonprofits like Genesis Works, nonprofits like Life Pieces to Masterpieces, all in the higher ed, college access, education spaces here in the city. I also teach at University of Maryland, as was mentioned as well, in the School of Public Policy. I teach a community impact course. I teach a nonprofit course there as well. I really, really enjoy that. That's like my side gig, but I love it so, so, so much. And that is so exciting, Cheyenne, that you would sit here as well. That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm also a proud immigrant here to the United States. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago in El Caribe. So shout out to all those who are proud immigrants or first generation Americans here as well. And I completed several degrees, my bachelor's degrees, my two master's degrees, my doctorate degree here in the US, all without any educational debt, all on scholarship. So that's why I love supporting others in this journey. So let's hop to the next slide and I'll run through a couple of things before we get to our time. So to achieve your higher ed goals, I'm going to focus in on three things. And similar to Cheyenne and Jeffrey, usually we take an hour to present all of this, but I'm going to condense it into 20 minutes. So I'm going to focus on today how to create a SMART plan. I'm going to talk about what that is. Number two, how to find let's capitalize, your best options and funding your higher education, as was touched on a little bit by Jeffrey and others, but I'll talk about some options of financing your higher education. So let's hop to the next slide and I'll jump deeper into SMART planning. So, quick question. Has anyone ever gone on a long road trip without a GPS? Have you ever gone on a long road trip, let's say driving from where I am here in DC to Florida without a GPS? It'll probably take me a longer time to get there. It will probably take me lots of turns that I shouldn't take. I might get lost on the way. It will take me a much longer time to get to my destination. So smart planning really is in that same modality. Before you begin your next higher ed journey, make a plan. Before you make the next step in your career goal, make a plan. And that's what a SMART plan really is. So it's a plan that's specific, that's measurable, that's attainable, that's relevant and connected to who you are, and one that has a time-bound, time-based factor. So as an example, I'll talk about a potential SMART goal, and I want you to use the chat box to share with us what your potential SMART goal for your next higher education journey is. So for example, I recently completed high school with a 3.0 GPA. Now, I want to begin my bachelor degree in business at the University of California in August 2026. So that's the SMART goal. It's specific and it says, when I want to start, it says what I want to study, it says what university. It's measurable, there's a time there as to when I want to start it. It says which university, you can measure that. It's attainable, this person finished high school and they have a 3.0 GPA and now they're continuing into university. It's relevant to what the person is. And there's a time-bound, time-based factor there. So use the chat box and just share with us, what is your next higher ed goal? Are you planning on a master's degree? You're planning on a certification? Are you planning on maybe a doctorate? Tell us just quickly, what are you planning on next? So I'm seeing pursuing an MBA, graduating in August. Congratulations. Certification, cybersecurity, master's degree, law school combination there, Gabrielle. It's awesome. So that's usually the starting point. And, folks in this sector always say a good SMART plan, a great SMART plan, always has 5 steps to achieve the goal. So for example, connected to the goal, the SMART goal you see there, some potential steps would be to research your options. Jeffrey shared a lot of options. Cheyenne shared a lot of options. Research your options. Request transcripts and maybe write the essay that's needed for the next step. Whatever is required, you want to prepare that. You want to submit the application before the deadline or in advance of the deadline with enough time if there are errors to make any correction. You want to complete a financial plan or apply for scholarships, and I'm going to talk about financing in a little bit as well. You want to confirm the acceptance letter and do any steps that are required. So it's a quick example of the steps. And the key here is for a good SMART plan, for a great SMART plan, you want to have at least 5 steps with the plan. And then the third thing here, which is super, super, super important, you heard it mentioned many times as well today. You heard Cheyenne mention a mentor. Be accountable to your plan. Get support to keep you accountable if needed. Some people are able to create a plan and stick to their plan. Others need accountability buddies, right? It's always good to have a workout partner, right? Someone who can, remind you to keep going when you're tired that day. So be accountable to your plan and get support to keep you accountable if needed. Let's hop to the next slide. So number 2 is to find your best option or options. So the key word here is your best option, not the option for your higher ed journey that's your best friend's, option, not the one that you saw on television that looked good, not the one that is popular, right? The one that's best for you. And best for you is a number of different things. It could be the type of opportunity. You heard a lot about certifications, associate degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctoral degree, and what option is the best for you? So you want to decide that. There are different types of places that you can continue your higher education journey. It could be a private, university, a private option, a public option. You might be looking for a small class size. Maybe you want something where you can interact with the professors, interact with the instructors. Or maybe you want a larger class size, 100 people in the classroom to make a lot of friends. In-state options versus out-of-state. In-state options usually are lower cost. if you live in that state versus out-of-state options. Community colleges, as was mentioned before, always have great certification low-cost options. For those living in the Washington, D.C. area, the University of the District of Columbia has free certifications for all DC residents. You can choose several certifications for free if you live in Washington, D.C. It could be an HBCU, a Hispanic Civic Institution, whatever matches your best option, right? Whatever matches your best identity is how you'll choose. The other best option choice is how much time can you commit? Can you commit to this full time, or will you be working and doing this part time, or maybe doing something else, taking care of family and doing this part time? You have to know how much time you can commit, and really that you develop and make really clear in your smart planning that you create. And then picking the program of study. I saw before, as Jeffrey laid out, several of you listed IT and STEM related tracks. So picking the major, the degree, the concentration, the certification that matches your next step, your next higher ed, connected to your next career goal is really, really key and next. So I'll jump to the next slide here to leave enough time for us for questions. This is something that I've always heard and heard often, is how do you fund your higher education? Higher education is relatively expensive. So you always need, money, dinero to pay for higher ed. It's getting even higher. It's going up. It's going up by almost 50% in the last 10 years, the cost of a typical college degree. I want us to read out a statistic that I actually saw this week to sort of ground us as to why there are options out there to pay for higher ed. So coming out of 2025, $100 million in private scholarships were unused or unclaimed. $100 million in private scholarships were either unused or unclaimed in 2025. So people did not use about $100 million in scholarships here in the US. And the second statistic here is 4.4 billion in federal Pell Grants were unclaimed in 2025 because people did not complete their forms. They started them but did not complete them. So that's $100 million in private scholarships and $4.4 billion in federal scholarships that were not used in 2025. So who wants that? Who wants that money to go to school? Who wants that money to pay for their certifications? Who wants that money to pay for their next degree? Jimmy said, I'll take it. I'll take it too. I'll go get another doctorate. I'll take it too. So how can we finance our higher education? We can finance this through financial aid. This is the free application for federal student aid, sometimes called FAFSA. And it's a form that you fill out. And sometimes, a parent or guardian has to fill it out as well. And you're able to get some Pell Grant or some Stafford loans. And I'll talk about loans in a little bit, but get some grants. Grants are money you don't have to pay back versus some loans that you do have to pay back sometimes with interest. But the financial aid system, as I mentioned, $4.4 billion of it was not used or unclaimed last year. The second one I would say are the city, county, and state level scholarships. So your city, your county, your state has scholarships as well. And those are usually found on the government website of your city, county, or state. So for example, in the DC or Maryland region, on the DC government website, you go to the DC government scholarship portal, and you can find scholarships there. In Prince George's County, Maryland, the county for the state, there are specific scholarships as well. There are scholarships out of the state as well. So always check the government websites for your city, county, and state for scholarships as well. Number three, there are always, available community religious institution. That's your church, your synagogue, your mosque, and also identity-based scholarships. scholarships to attend HBCUs, scholarships because you completed high school at a Latino serving school, scholarships for women, scholarships for STEM. There are lots of scholarships, identity-based scholarships as well that you can find through sites like FastWeb and others. There are always direct scholarships directly from the university or directly from the institution that you may want to complete the degree, the certification, etc. So always check those as well. There are a couple of options there. There are merit-based scholarships. That's scholarships for, students, individuals, learners who are high performing, high GPA, etc. that schools compete over. So they give scholarships. They're called merit-based. One need-based scholarship, relatively, higher is expensive. And as I did not come from a rich family, some of us may not come from wealthy families, and we need money to continue our education. So those are called needs-based scholarship. And those are usually listed on the university or the higher ed institution websites. Number five, I saw some folks listing master's degrees. So graduate assistantships or teaching assistantships or even research assistantships. Those are the keywords that you should search for master level and even doctoral level financial assistance. So for example, when I did my Master's of Business Administration, I applied for graduate assistantship at the university, and my entire master's degree was funded. And then I worked for the university as a grad assistant and gained additional income. So those are available at most universities as well. Teaching assistants, you're working as a teaching aide at a university or higher ed institution, and sometimes as well your tuition, your costs are covered. And then research assistantships are you're doing research paired with a faculty member at a university. Again, getting scholarship, getting your education funded, and getting a salary and or stipend. Again, for grad level, some undergraduate level, some institutions, they're fellowships. These are usually external, it could be a fellowship for, let's say, the United Nations, where you're in a cohort of people doing projects and getting paid for that work to your university or to your institution to cover your cost of education. Number seven, always important to ask if your employer, it's a tough job market, but employers usually as a benefit, they may cover education costs, cover costs for certificates, cover the costs for degrees. No, not the full thing, but they may cover partially the cost of those degrees. And last but not least, the loans. And I always say that should be the last option, but loans are out there as well. So I'll jump to the last slide and then I'll pass back to Antonio to open up for questions. So my final advice, again, I wish I had more time with you to cover this in more detail, but please add me on LinkedIn. Final advice for your higher ed journey, maximize free money first. The fellowships, the scholarships, the assistantships. Think about the loans last, because those you pay back and they have interest on them. Use service-based or employer funding. You heard Cheyenne mention about volunteering earlier. Volunteering helps to get funding as well. And then again, last resort are the loans, because those have high interest and they are sometimes very predatory as well. So my last quote before I turn back to Antonio, higher ed journey is like an elephant. It's a big, 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 big project. So how do you eat an elephant? You bite it one piece at a time, and your smart plan helps you to do that. And then you can consume the entire elephant and invite me to your graduation. Thank you all. I'll pass back to Antonio to close us out. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, Dr. Waldron. I love the order of operations in a way that you gave when it comes to funding your higher education. So breaking it down from top priorities down the funnel. And the stats, even $100 million of unused private scholarships, just money out there. Again, accessibility, leaning into those resources that are out there that you delineated for everyone today. It's very empowering. And then one of my biggest takeaways is failing to plan is planning to fail. So I know a lot of folks have heard that. Those words ring very true, especially through what you shared today. I actually do have a question for the panelists. So I know a lot of us know intellectually that we want to pivot, or like some of us might know that they want to pivot, right? Some folks here might want to be pivoting or thinking about pivoting careers, but emotionally they might feel stuck. There's a lot of fears that come when it comes to career transitions. It's fear of failure, fear of regret, fear of wasting time. How do you help people move through that fear when they're changing careers, especially when things like analysis paralysis keeps folks frozen?
I can just offer something to consider because if you look at my LinkedIn, it's very entertaining because I've had a lot of different jobs over the years. But I think I always look at everything. I encourage people, if that's something they decide to do, is to look at every experience as a learning lesson, right? Like every experience you had, you learned something. You learned either what you want to do or what you don't want to do, right? You built skills, and I've built some of the most important life skills, and some of the hardest jobs I've ever had. And so I think if individuals can just kind of, it's like a reframe, right? Like taking a step back and thinking about, okay, what lessons did I learn? How can I move this forward? And then just, okay, I'm a big fan of like motivational quotes. I have different ones that I will refer back to. I think can be helpful because sometimes we can talk, like you said, the negative talk, we can talk ourselves out of our great opportunity, right? And those mentors are everything. I mean, 1 to 2 minimum, of someone that knows your work, that believes in you. It could be a teacher, it could be a past manager, it could be a colleague, it could be someone you volunteer for, to cheer you on and encourage you during those moments.
Yeah, I'll
I'll
chime in
go
there.
back to the
Oh, sorry.
sort of different. I'll go back to the planning concept as well. One thing I remember from a mentor of mine say is a smart plan is it's kind of like a river, it's something that you go along. And you can make shifts and make turns to the plan, but if you don't have one, it's sort of just blowing in the wind somewhat. So I always say to prevent the analysis paralysis, to prevent the distraction, because lots of things are happening in the world, is to create the plan and to have an accountability body to hold you to it.
Perfect. And Jeffrey, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I put it. I also put it in the chat, but I think one thing that resonates, at least for me, is remembering that your resume is a snapshot. Your skills are the story, and your community is the multiplier. So your community, the organizations that you're a part of, your mentors, your sponsors, they're the ones that can help guide and support you in a transition or through the growth up the ladder. So.
Incredible, incredible. Well, Jeffrey, Cheyenne, Dr. Waldron, thank you for making this hacking a career beyond the resume possible. For folks who I know we couldn't get to every question, but our wonderful panelists and our wonderful mentors did a great job at actually answering them as they went along. Please feel free to connect with our mentors, sign up to for updates from the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. And we are happy to continue connecting, to continue growing together. We hope you're leaving today with practical takeaways and renewed confidence to navigate your career journey. And I'd be remiss to not give a huge, huge shout out to my fellow colleague, Anaí Rivas Rodriguez, who put in a lot of the groundwork in terms of making today possible, and the entire HHF team for all your work day in and day out. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Most of our handles are at Hispanic Heritage. This will be on our YouTube channel. I know we've been building our YouTube channel to be a real resource for the community. So go on there, look through our playlist, and you'll definitely see this recording being uploaded a few days from now. So definitely keep your eyes peeled. At HHF, we have numerous other workforce development programs and opportunities, including more workshops on resume writing, LinkedIn best practices, and personal branding. So again, please make sure to tune into our LinkedIn, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening and best of luck in your career journeys. Thank you again. Round of applause for our wonderful mentors.